Hello all, welcome to another session on Java programming. In this session, we'll be taking a look at the calendar class in Java. We'll see how to create this calendar instance and also to use the various methods of the calendar instance. At the end of this session, we'll be taking up an exercise. So let's move forward. So how you declare this instance of a calendar class is given in this code. So here we are trying to print the current date. So we declare the calendar instance like this. Calendar is the class name. C is equal to calendar dot get instance. And to print the current date, what you have to do is you have to call the instance, that is C dot get time. So this is the method we'll be using from the calendar class to print the current date. So your output will be something like this. You can see the current date being printed back to you. So we can also set a date. Say we can get some date from the user and we can set a date for this. So we are going to use this method set from the calendar class. So we are going to pass the year, month and date as an integer field and we'll be able to set. So let's take a look at the code. So first you create an instance of the calendar class and then you're going to call the instance.set method, pass the year as an integer and then the month. Here the month starts from 0. So 0 represents here January, so 1 represents here February. So the index for the month starts from 0 and here you can give the day, which day of the month it is. And once when you print the date that you have set, now it's not going to print the current date, but in turn it will print the date that you have set. So you can see what date you have set, Saturday. January year is 0 and 23rd is the day we have entered. So that is how you set a date, and there is also time being set along with the date. That will be the time when you're trying to set this date. That will be a system time. So if you want to set the date and time, then you have to go in for another method, that is again the set method with a different set of arguments. So you're going to pass the year as an integer, month as an integer, date as an integer. Now you'll pass the hours and then the minutes. Earlier in the previous slide, the hours and the minutes and the seconds were taken off from the system and the system time was being set. Now you can also set your own time. So we'll take a look at a piece of code here. So first you create the calendar instance, then you set. So while you're setting the instance, you're going to pass the year, the month, and the year it represents January 23rd, and 14 hours and 30 minutes. So now you can set the time. And when you print the date back, you're going to get an output like this: Saturday, Jan 23rd, 14 hours and 30 minutes. Again, you have some seconds here, which is actually your system time. So 17 seconds. So this, if you want to set the number of seconds to, you have another method for that. First you create the calendar instance, then you call the set method. Now you pass the year, the month, year is January, and day is 23rd, and 14 hours, 30 minutes, and we are passing the seconds too. So when you're printing the date that you have set, you can very well see it's a Saturday, Jan 23rd, 14 hours, 30 minutes, and now 56 seconds is being printed. So we can very well set a date by using the calendar instance by calling the set method of the calendar instance. And if you want to set just the year, month, and day, you have to call c.set year, comma, month, comma, day. If you want to set the number of hours, minutes, and seconds, you have to call the appropriate variations of the set method. I hope you are able to follow this. Now let's move on. Let's take a look at another method of the calendar instance. So we create a calendar instance and we call this instance dot toString. So toString will return all the attributes of the calendar instance in the form of a string. So you're going to get a large string like this. So this is a string representation of your calendar instance. So month, week of the year, week of the month, day of the month. So everything is a large string. And you can return the entire instance as a string too. That is the use of this particular method. And you want to know the time zone. So you can create the calendar instance and you have to invoke this method, that is get time zone, and you'll be able to see the time zone that you are currently mapped onto. Next comes an important uh, method wherein we are in a situation wherein we have to add months to a given date. How to add months, or how to add years to a given date, or how to add number of days to a given date. So these things we can't do it manually, right? So we have to use the calendar instance, and then when we perform c dot add, so here I'm adding 4 months to the calendar dot month. So here calendar c is equal to calendar dot get instance, and when I perform c dot add calendar dot month, it's going to take the current date. If the current date, if I say it's August 19th, something like that, August 19th 2022, so that will be the current date that is taken up with this instance. And when I say calendar dot month, what will be the month is the month of August. So it's going to take the month of August and then add 4 months to it. That is the meaning. So when I print get time, you'll be able to see Monday, December 19th. So that is how you add months to an existing date. Likewise, you can also add days to a date. Say here we declare the calendar instance, and then we call the add method, and we are going to add calendar dot date comma 3. So if today, if the date is August 19th 2022, then we are going to add 3 days to August 19th. So it'll be 20 August, it'll be August 22nd 2022, right? So let's see the output. You're able to see this. So this is the date that occurs when we add 3 days to the current date. So you can also add years the same way. You call c dot add, and then you invoke calendar dot year. So if the year is August, if the date is August 19, 2022, what will be the year taken here? 2022, and 3 years will be added. So if you add 3 years, the date that will be coming after 3 years from now is displayed here. So it's August 19th, 2025. So you can manipulate the calendar instance, like you can add days to the instance, you can add months to the instance, you can add years to the instance. So there will be a question in your mind, like what happens if I subtract days, months, or year? Yeah, you can do that, but you don't have a dot subtract. What you have to do is say I want to subtract 3 years from the current year. So I declare a calendar instance, and then I call the add method, invoke calendar dot year, and then I give a negative value. So when you subtract 3 years, the output is going to be like this. So it's going to be August 19th 2019, since we have subtracted 3 years from 2022. So you'll also be able to subtract months, subtract days, just give the value in negative, and you invoke the dot add method. And this again, the next method is a very useful method. You can check whether a given date falls after another date. So I'll explain that with an example. Say we created the calendar instance, and I'm setting the date for this instance as, say it's 2020 January 23rd. So the date we are taking here is Jan 23rd 2020. So this is set in C. Actually C represents this, and we are creating another calendar instance C1, which is the current date. Say let's take the current date as August 19th 2022. And what we are checking here is whether C1 falls after C. Is C1 coming after C? Yes, 2022 is coming after 2020. So obviously you're going to get the output as true. So we can check whether a date falls after a given date. It's not only with the number of years, it can be with the days too. If this is August 18th, 2022, August 19th, 2022 falls after August 18th, 2022. So you're going to get the output as true. Okay. So this is the use of the after method. You also have the before a given date method. What is the use of this? It's the exact reverse of what we have seen in the previous slide. Say the same thing, you can take, say C represents 2020, like 2020 Jan 23rd. So this is the date, and C1 is the current date. Let's assume that it's 2022 August 19th. So we're going to check whether C falls before, whether C falls before C1. Of course, 2020 falls before 2022. So the output here is going to be true. So here we are checking C dot before C1. The method we are calling is dot before. Whether C falls before C1? Yes, true. In the previous slide, we are checking whether a date falls after another date. So these are very important methods. I would say, like you want to check or compare dates, whether a date falls before a date or whether a date falls after a date. You can very well use these inbuilt methods of the calendar instance. So now let's take up some exercise. Say I want to find the difference between two dates. Say I want to find the difference between two calendar instances. Say I have C and C1. What is C1 minus C? I want to find the difference in the number of days. It can be 3 days, 4 days, or whatever it is. I want to find and display the number of days. So in the second program, what we are going to do is we are going to ask the user to enter his date of birth, and maybe the user enters integer year, a month to be integer value, let's say, and then the day to be an integer value. We'll set the date using the calendar instance, and then we'll determine his age, say how many years of age he is, by using the current date, and then we'll display the user's age. So these two exercises we'll be doing now. Maybe the other exercises you can take it for your practice. So let's go on with the exercise. Let's also take up some demonstrations on the calendar instance now. Okay, now let us take up some demonstrations on the calendar instance. Let's create a calendar instance. Say calendar C is equal to calendar dot get instance. So that's how you create a calendar instance. And how can you print the current date and time? You can print it as C dot get time. It's not time in milliseconds, I'm sorry. It's C dot get time. So this is going to print the current date for you. Let me run my code. Let's check what is the output. So the current date is September 7th, 2022. Next, we'll see how to set a date. Say we will call c.set, and then we'll pass the year, month, and date as an integer. Say if it's 2020 is the year, month is January, and 23rd is the date. Now let's print the date we are setting using the set method. So it's going to be January 23rd, 2020. That should be printed. So you see here that is getting printed. Now, if you want to set the hours and minutes and seconds, you can very well go with that. Say you give a comma, 14 hours and 30 minutes and 56 seconds, like that. You compile this and run. So you'll be able to set the date along with the time, that is hours, minutes, and seconds. So let's take a look at the output. So you can see here, Jan 23rd, 14 hours, 30 minutes, and 56 seconds was set. And we also looked at some more methods like how to add number of years to a given date. Say if I want to add 3 years to this date, how can I perform that? I can just call c.add and then call, say I want to add 3 years to this date, calendar.year. And how many number of years I want to add? Say let me add 2 years. So what will be the output here? So it will take 2020 and it will add 2 years, and then it's going to print the date that will occur after 2 years from now. Let's run this. So it should be 2022 Jan 23rd, 14 hours, 30 minutes and 50 seconds. So you're able to see here. So 2 years got added. Suppose you want to add a number of days, say 2020 Jan 23rd. I want to add 2 days. Then what I should do, calendar.date, and then I'm just going to add 2 days here. Then the output now it's going to be 2020 Jan 25 because I'm just adding 2 days. Like that, you can also call dot month and add 2 months. So you see here, 2 days were added. If you want to add month, you can very well add dot month. So you'll be able to add year, day, month, whatever you want to add. Say I'm just adding 2 months. Now it should be like March, right? That should be the output. So you see March 23rd, 14:30, 56 seconds, and the year is 2020. So that's how you can manipulate the calendar instance by using the set method and also by using the add method. So if I want to subtract 2 years or 2 months or 2 days, what I can do is I can just give a negative value here. So now 2 months will be subtracted. So what will be the output here if you subtract 2 months from January? So you should be getting November, right? So that should be the output here, November 2020. See, November 23rd, 14:30, 56, and it's 2019 because here you have January 2020, and when you subtract 2 months, it's going to be November 2019. So everything is taken care of. That's why we need to use the calendar instance. We can't get the dates or the calendar object as a string from the user and manipulate the strings. That's going to take a lot of time and effort, and most of the times we may be wrong too. So I hope you understood how to work with the calendar instance, and also some more methods we have seen. Say I'll just create another calendar instance, calendar c1 is equal to calendar dot get instance, and this will be for the current date. I can check whether a date falls after a given date. I can check whether c1 falls after c. I can do that by c1 dot after, and c 2022 comes after 2020, so the output is here is going to be true. So the output should be true. Yeah. And we were looking at another method, c dot before, whether c falls before c1. 2020 falls before c1, so obviously this should be true because 2020 comes before 2022. A very useful method. And now let's move on to the exercise. What is the exercise? That is, exercise should be find the difference between two dates, two instances in number of days. Say, let's assume that let's take up this particular date, 23rd January 2020. I'll create another calendar instance, and then I'll set it as c dot set. I'm sorry, it's c1 dot set. I will set the year, month, and date as 2020 January, and let's say it's 26 January 2020. So the difference between these two dates should return the number of days as 3. So for that, we need to perform certain steps. So how you find the difference between these two dates is, first I'll find c1 dot get time in milliseconds. So I'll get the time in milliseconds for c1 minus c dot get time in milliseconds. So I'll get the time in milliseconds. I'll subtract these two instances. So the output, the difference will be the time in milliseconds. Now I'll convert the time in milliseconds to number of days. So I've subtracted these two dates, getting the output in milliseconds. Now I'll convert it to number of days. So obviously we know this 1000 milliseconds make 1 second. So we have 60 seconds, and then we have 60 minutes, and then we have 24 hours in a day. So this is the calculation we're going to divide the total number of milliseconds to convert it to number of days, and we'll see the output here. So the output should be the number of days, the difference between these two instances in the number of days. The Control S and Control F11. So you see 3. So just converting the instances, we get the time in milliseconds. We define the difference between the time in milliseconds. So it's going to be millisecond output. And we divide that, we convert that time in milliseconds to number of days. I hope you are able to follow this. Okay, now let's move on to the next exercise, the second exercise, wherein we have to find the age of the user by getting his date of birth. What is this exercise is all about? It's about finding the age of the user by getting the date of birth. So first we'll ask the user to enter the year. So you can also get it as a string and then perform substring operations, and then you can set the date. But here, let's take it the easier way. Let's ask the user to enter the year. So when the user enters something, what we need a scanner object. So we'll create a scanner object here. Input is equal to system.in, and scanner object is created. Now we'll get the year from the user, that is input dot next int, and we'll ask the user to enter the month. So again, let's assume that the user knows that the index for the month starts from 0 here. So he's going to enter an integer input. So int month is equal to input dot next int. So if it's January, the user is going to enter 0. If it's December, he's going to enter the month as 11. And we'll ask the user to enter the day. So he's going to enter the day here. So int day is equal to input dot next int. So we have received the year, month, and day from the user. Now we have to create a calendar instance. Calendar date of birth is equal to calendar dot get instance. So we are creating the date of birth calendar instance here, and how will you set the date? Dob dot set, and we call the year, whatever year supplied by the user, month as given by the user, and year we are going to say day. So our date of birth is set, and we create another calendar instance for the current date. So we are calculating the age. So the current date is required. It's calendar dot get instance. So the current date, we are going to use the object as current. And how to find the difference, the age in number of years, we can say int age is equal to. So it is nothing but current dot get calendar dot year. So we are going to get the year from the current date minus date of birth dot get, and we're going to get the year from the calendar dot year. So this is going to print the age. Let's do a sys out here, and then let's print the age. The age of the user is, and then we can print the age here. So age is getting printed, but we're not considering the day and the month in this output. Let's just say, let's enter the year. Say, let's say the user was born in 2010. Month to be, say, August, or say November. So November is denoted as 10, and enter the day, say November 2nd. So what should be his age? The age of the user is 12. So it says 12 years. But actually, he has not completed 12 years. November 2nd is yet to come this year, right? So, but we are saying his age is 12. He has not completed 12 years. So this is a problem with this program. So how to consider the month? How to consider the day? Only when November 2nd crosses for this year, you can say he has completed 12 years. But now we are saying he has completed 12 years. So how to address this problem? We can make a simple check here. So we can perform dob dot get. We can check whether the month from the date of birth has surpassed the current month. So date of birth dot get, it's calendar dot month. Whether the date of birth month is greater than the current date's month. So it's current dot get calendar dot month. Okay, it's not Monday, it's month. Not only that, say if the user's birthday is on November 2nd and the current date is November 1, then also we should not say he has completed 12 years, because he has not achieved November 2nd, right? Maybe the months are equal, but then the days have not been surpassed. So in that case, what you have to do is we have to check the months also. So we can So we need to check the day also. So for that, we'll have an OR condition here. And then we'll perform this specific check, that is dob dot get whether the months are equal. So calendar dot month, whether the months are equal, is equal to current dot get calendar dot month. So we're going to check whether the months are equal and whether the date of birth's date is it greater than the current date. So let's check that. So we're going to perform this check, that is dob and dob dot get calendar dot day calendar dot date, whether it is greater than dob current dot get calendar dot day. That's it. So this check we need to do. I know some of you might be confused with these checks. Let me explain these checks with a simple example here. That is, let's say that the user was born on 2nd November 2010 and the current date is 7th September 2022. Now, what we were saying by subtracting the ages, he has completed 12 years. But you see here, still in the current date, we have not achieved November. Only when we surpass 2nd November 2022, we can say he has completed 12 years. So what we are doing here is we are checking whether the month November is greater than the September. Of course, November will be greater than September because the index for November is 10. September, the index is 8 because the index starts from 0, right? So November is going to be greater than September. So still November is yet to come. That's what the meaning is. So he has not completed 12 years. So that check we are performing. Sometimes it may be like this. The user's birthday is 2nd November 2010 and we are in first, say the current date is 1st November 2022. Still we can't say he has completed 12 years because only when the date surpasses the 2nd November 2022 we can say he has completed 12 years. So what check we are doing is we are checking whether the months are equal. So that's what the check we are performing here. So that's what is the check we are performing here. Get the month, whether the months are equal. If the months are equal, you are checking whether the date in the date of birth is greater than the date in the current date. So that's check we are performing. So if this date is greater than this, then what we have to do is we have to subtract the age. We should not say he has completed 12 years. We should subtract the age and display. Okay, so this small check we have to make. So I hope still some of you might be confused. Just go through the code, execute the code, try it once, you'll be able to understand it. So let me run this code. Let's take the several test cases here. So let's enter the year. 2010 is the year of birth, and month, let's say he was born on September, so it's 8. And day, let's say it's 5th September. So now the age of the user is 12 because today is 7th September and the birthday for this user in the current year has already passed. So we can very well say he has completed 12 years. What happens if the user's birthday is 9th September? (2010), month is 8, and he was born on 9th September, but now the current date is 7th September. So he has not completed 12 years. His age should be denoted as 11 years. So this is what we were checking. We are checking whether the month is greater than the current month. If he was born in November and the current month is only September, then age should be subtracted by 1. The next check what we are doing, whether the months are equal, whether the date of birth day is greater than the current month day. If the date of birth day is greater than the current month day, again you have to subtract 1 year. So you should not say he has completed 12 years. We should still say it is only 11 years. So we are considering these checks here in this program. I hope you are able to follow this, and I hope you'll also be able to complete the remaining exercises. Thank you.